And welcome back to The Rock here in Pretoria, where we are analysing some of the election results and also continuing with those predictions. And of course, now with 75.55% of voting districts declared, a much clearer picture emerging, and of course the CSIR prediction holding as it usually does. So I'm still here with Dr. Ndumiso Kingo, and he is of course the manager for strategic partnerships at the CSIR. So in the previous crossing, we spoke to the first three provinces in alphabetical order. That was the Eastern Cape, the Free State, and of course Gauteng. And now we move on. But just to take a look there at the national picture, 75.55% of voting districts declared. All right, we move on now to the next province. And that takes us, of course, as I stand up here, to KwaZulu-Natal. Now, again, very, very interesting, Dr. Kingo, what's happening here. At the moment, as it stands, we're looking at 63.13% of voting districts declared, and the picture at the moment, 52.87% for the ANC, and the IFP at 17.04%, the DA 15.47%. Let's break it down, because this is a very, very interesting development.
Yes, what's interesting here in KZN, yes, the ANC seems to be headed to retaining KZN, although with a reduced majority from the previous election. But the second and third party, in terms of predictions, it looks like the IFP and the DA are somewhat neck and neck. IFP slightly ahead, DA is slightly behind, but they're all within 14 to 15% support. That represents an increase of support for the IFP and slight increase for the DA, but they're neck and neck. It's too close to call for us at this stage.
Well, they've really rallied, have the IFP here. And if you take a look there at the provincial map, and you can see, if you look at the comparison with 2014, they were down in three consecutive elections. They were losing support,
sure,
and suddenly they've rallied.
And there was that NFP effect that led to which is now reversed in a way, with the NFP having lost much of their support, and that support has benefited the IFP somewhat, hence the rally that we've seen.
But is it only the NFP support? Because if we look at how much they've grown by, is it possible that they've also gained some support back from those who may have left to the ANC?
It's possible when one looks at the decline in the numbers for the ANC from just over 60% to now just about 55% or so. So it is possible.
And you said neck and neck with the DA. The
Correct.
DA has been showing steady increases over the past three elections, and now they were at 12.76%
yes,
in the last election. What are they predicted
So the
to
prediction
do
now is 14.35% for the DA and 14.91% for the EFF, for the IFP.
So still growing there. All right, but interesting development in KZN. We see the IFP catching up to the DA, and the race is now on for who becomes the official opposition, sure, in KZN.
An interesting development there, I'm not sure if you are going to talk about that, is the EFF.
I was going to come to that. 1.85%, that's the first election that they contested there.
Yes, and we're seeing them rallying again, another province that they are doing well in. And they are being predicted to come in at 9.26%.
That's significant.
That's a very significant increase.
Okay, EFF also making their mark felt there. And then, of course, the NFP.
NFP. Now, that's a story of in the previous election, they had 7.31%, and currently they are in KZN, they are not even featuring in the top 7 that we are seeing. Oh, sorry, they are number 5 at 1.32%.
In KZN?
In KZN.
They were, of course, even at national level, in the top 7, if I'm not mistaken, in the previous election.
Correct.
Were the NFP.
Yes.
So they've fallen off that radar, and even in the province, they've dropped.
they've dropped quite significantly.
Okay, so a bit of a bloodbath there for them. But of course, let's move on to the next province. Okay, so from the KwaZulu-Natal, we go to Limpopo province. And let's take a look here. Of course, at the moment, we have 60.75% of the votes, voted districts declared, 75.46% for the ANC at the moment, the EFF 14.33%, 5.46% for the DA. And just looking at where they were the previous election and where they are now, the ANC, they have been declining in the past two elections in this province. So in 2009, they were on 84.88%, 78.60% in the last election in 2014. And right now, they at 75.46, but what are they predicted to do?
They are predicted to be just above 77%, so a slight decline from the 78.6 that they had in 2014. But yeah, it's just that downward trend that is continuing.
That's continuing. Marginal, but still a loss of support there. And the EFF?
And the EFF is projected to be 12.9%, growing from 10.74.
DA?
The DA is 5.44% projected, and that's down now from 6.48%.
And Freedom Front Plus, how are they looking in the in Limpopo province?
In Limpopo, they are projected to be at about 1.7%. And the previous election, they had 1.6.
So like 1% growth, just about.
Yeah.
For
so
the Freedom Front Plus. Okay, so again, not insignificant if you look at what it actually translates into. Mpumalanga, another interesting one, because it seems, at least as per the predictions at this point, that the EFF is posed to unseat the DA as the official opposition in Mpumalanga.
That's the emerging picture. It looks like they will become the official opposition in Mpumalanga.
And I must just indicate it's with 87.87% of voting districts already declared. So at the moment, the ANC is still in the lead, 69.9% of the vote, 13.01% to the EFF, and the DA at 9.97%, 87.87 of voting districts declared in Mpumalanga. So this is the picture. So let's just run through it very quickly, Dr. Tlingo. So the ANC, they've been showing a steady decline here in Mpumalanga as well. In 2009, they were on 85.55, 78.23 is what they polled in 2014. And what are they predicted to poll in 2019?
The prediction currently stands at 72.14%.
So a very significant decline yet again.
Of about 6%.
6% decline for the ANC in Mpumalanga. But here's the real story, the
Correct.
EFF and the DA. So in the previous election, the EFF, and that was the first election that they contested, came in at 6.26%. The DA, who were the official opposition, were at 10.40%. So what are the predictions telling us now?
Well, currently the EFF is projected to get 11.59%, and the DA declining from 10.4 to 9.04%. So EFF seems to have overtaken the DA to become the official opposition in Mpumalanga, and that trend, I think, from our predictions, we seem to have gotten a steady state, and it's unlikely to change. We'll see though, and as time goes on.
Very interesting. And then looking at the Freedom Front Plus, now they've seen two consecutive elections of decline. What are they doing in this election?
Projected to be at 2.66% and previously 0.82%.
Again, significant.
Yes.
All right.
Especially in the light of the continuous decline that they've had in the previous two elections. Now it's gone back up to 2.66%.
Metro Residents Association, and they are of course from Bushbuck Ridge, and this was a surprise in the previous election, how well they fared, 1.15%, and I think we'll have to go down slightly, but do you have them on your prediction there?
They are coming in just behind the Freedom Front Plus at 0.58%, so a decline of just about half of what they had in the previous election at 0.58% versus 1.15.
And if we just drill down into the raw numbers, we see the ATM coming in there above the ACDP and leaving it there, 6,539, 0.62% of the vote. So that's how it's stacking up in Mpumalanga. So as it stands, it looks as though the EFF will actually replace the DA as the official opposition in Mpumalanga. Moving on to the Northwest Province. Now, this picture here, and they have 94.63% of voted districts declared. So this is just about a complete picture almost.
Correct.
So as it stands, the ANC 62.38%, EFF is on 18.57%, and the DA at 10.83%. So let's look at what is happening with the numbers. So 2009, the ANC were at 72.89%, 2014 67.39%, a significant decline. Are they still declining, or have they managed to arrest that in this election?
A slight decline down to 63.75%. So going down from 67 to 63.75%, about 3 percentage points or so.
And then looking at EFF, and they of course became the official opposition in the last election in the Northwest Province, 13.21% as opposed to the DA's 12.73%. How are they faring this time?
Okay, their story continues, growing from 13.21% in the previous election to a current predicted 17.05%. So again, that trend
more than 3 percentage points the growth for the EFF in the Northwest Province.
Correct.
And the Democratic Alliance?
The DA is coming in at 11.25%, slight decline from 12.73 in the previous election.
And there's a bit of a picture emerging there with the Democratic Alliance at provincial level. In as much as, you know, we've looked at the ANC and their steady decline in all the provinces, the DA not faring very well in the provinces as per the numbers right now.
Correct. I mean, I think we've seen in several provinces, even in provinces where they were considered to be quite strong, that they are struggling to maintain the high percentages that they've had in the previous elections, or we're seeing slight declines. So that is the emerging picture. Declines or struggling to maintain the percentages they've had.
And just another quick look at the Freedom Front Plus. Again, they were down in the last election in 2014 to 1.72% from 1.81 in 2009. Are they increasing or decreasing this time around?
Okay, well, again, story continues there. Freedom Front Plus is projected to have about 4.13% support. That's compared to that 1.72% previously.
Okay, and I see the United Christian Democratic Party, that of course a party that lingers back to the Bokutatswana days, they also there showing and coming in at the moment in a fifth position there. But their story has also been one of decline in consecutive elections. So what are our predictions this time around?
Well, in our predictions, Northwest, UCDP, we're not seeing them in the top 7 at present. So we'll see as time goes on how that pans out for them.
All right. Moving from the Northwest Province, let's go over to the Northern Cape. Now, in the Northern Cape, 97.45% voting districts declared. So again, pretty much almost complete. And then the ANC 57.25%, DA as 25.89%, and the EFF 9.57% as it stands right now. All right, ANC, the previous election 64.40%, and that was actually an upward trend for them from a previous decline in 2009. So what's happening this time around?
So this time around, the projection is that the ANC will end up with 58.27%, down from the 64.4% in the previous election.
The Democratic Alliance, they the official opposition there, 23.89% in 2014, and they had almost doubled from 2009 in the last election. But what are we predicting this time?
All right. Well, that trend doesn't continue for them because they seem to be only increasing their support by just less than 1%, from 23.89 to 24.35.
So holding steady, as
just
it were.
holding steady.
Just about. And then the EFF, there in the last election, 2014, they were at 4.96% of the vote there. How
Correct.
did they fare this time?
So just about double that at 9.66% from 4.96.
And the Freedom Front Plus, of course.
And the Freedom Front Plus, it was 1.09, and it's projected to go up to 3.27.
Now, COPE, interesting, of course, because they showed quite significantly in this province here, 3.60% of the vote in 2014. What are we predicting?
Yes, the current prediction stands at 0.84%. And if you look at the trend from 16.67 in 2009, 3.6 in 2014, and to a projected of 0.87, I think that's a significant loss of support over 2 elections. Close to 15, 16%.
And of course, good and good again, an interesting one, because it was touted to be a so-called colored party, and this particular province then is one where good was supposed to really show up as along with the Western Cape, but of course quite a bit down on the leaderboard. But
yes.
Again, these are the ones that you say are a bit difficult because there's no previous data to work off.
Correct, but we do have some projection for good at present. It's coming in at 0.75%, just behind ACDP at 0.76%. But as I've mentioned before, the margin is too close to call for between those two.
Okay, and just the final one to wrap the provinces, it's the Western Cape. And looking at this picture here, 94.74% of the voting districts declared here. The DA is at 54.63%, ANC 29.3%, and the EFF 4.07%. All right, the Democratic Alliance in 2014 polled at 59.38%, and we're talking about 94.7% of voter districts declared. So let's talk to that number.
All right. So I think the numbers are not going to change that much, or close to the end. The predictions are that the DA will end up with 52.36 and the ANC with 31.09. And then third will be EFF with 4.12%.
Again, very interesting, but good. What's your prediction for good in this election?
Good looks to be coming in at 2.27%, and it's currently standing at, I think, 2.26%.
And I suppose the Freedom Front Plus and the ACDP also coming in here, as well as Al Jamaa.
Al Jamaa, that's another surprising party. I think in the previous election it was at 0.62%, and it's now standing at 0.85%, projected to end at about 0.77%.
Interesting story there. So increase for the Freedom Front Plus, for Al Jamaa, also for Good there, and the EFF. So all of this tells us a story about what's been happening. Right, Dr. Thingo, we'll park it there for now as we continue to crunch the numbers here and look at the predictions and how the picture is unfolding at the Rock. But for now, we'll take you back to studio.